overall normal con experience.
Right
I
on.
bought dice.
Did you really?
I bought 114 dice.
Okay, so it was another Gen Con for Sam.
Par for the course.
Genuinely, oh my.
100 d6 and then 2 sets of polyhedral.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Sam. Are you joking right now?
I would not joke about dice, Eric Campbell.
You bought. Wait. This is not a joke. I was going along with it because I was like, Sam's not brain broken. I'm sure they didn't buy like a bajillion dice.
Of course I bought.
Have you met Sam to left?
Hang on, stay there. I'll go get him.
Know that?
You roughly have offhand. I want to know exactly how many dice you own.
Oh no.
Oh no.
That's the whole show, folks. Tonight we are not going to space. We are counting all of Sam to left.
How many dice total, Sam, in your whole house?
You're muted. We can't hear you.
Muted or unplugged, you decide.
Oh, I think your mic is not. Your mic either fell off or because we can hear you talking, but it fell off. Sam's fancy and uses a lav mic.
Look, a gentle NB does not give a number.
Is that a Gemby?
Oh.
I am a gem. Dice.
Wow.
They're glittery.
I've ordered
that needs to be. That needs to be our GIF equivalent of a mic drop. Should be Sam dropping a bag of D6s.
I've ordered 100 D4s before of like various colors, and it's smaller than you think. Like you'd think it'd be like this big bag.
Oh yeah.
They're not.
Those
That's
are
why there's so much room for so many.
Yeah.
a bag of caltrops is what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that's what he used them for.
I'm sure
But all
it
that
is.
is to say that I had an entirely authentic Gen Con experience. It was very nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm glad everyone had a good. So we haven't been together as a group in a little over a week. That's why you're getting the casual intro today, everybody. We're reconnecting. We're saying hi to the stream punks today. As for announcements, there's nothing immediate that I have to announce this evening on my end, but I would be shocked to find if Xander and Bonnie didn't have something to announce.
Well, Gen Con was this past weekend, so it's
Right.
nice to have this sort of openness. This is like that end of con season time, and it's nice to just be
True.
home instead of traveling. So I got nothing.
Oh my God. Yes, Gina.
I do have an announcement.
Yes.
I've been working on a new project with some really incredible people, and it's over at Pixel Circus. If you want to go follow them, we're launching very soon, and we're gonna do some fun stuff. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but there's some amazing people that all of you have also worked with, and they're really wonderful, and it's exciting.
Yay!
Go follow
Tina's
Awesome.
doing a thing. That's all the pitch I need.
Yeah, that's fair. Before we jump into tonight's game, you'll probably notice that we don't have a Ravity tonight. Something came up, so Ravity's going to have to join us next week. So we love you and miss you, Rave. We'll see you next Monday nights for some more Honkitude with Lacat. Unless there's any other announcements, I think we can jump into tonight's episode. Yes, Sam.
I have 114 new dice, and I'm excited.
And with that, let's begin tonight's episode of Clear Skies. Welcome back, everybody. Let's go ahead and jump into tonight's game of Clear Skies. We are picking up in a very unusual position. Tonight, the USS Ross holding its station keeping during what I would say would be a very relaxing couple of days in front of a very beautiful nebula, where the USS Ross has been conducting some passive scans and scientific gathering, has been waiting for the return of a shuttlecraft that has been charted to come back from one planet named Risa. It's not just some of the senior staff members, a few members of the crew of the USS Ross have taken this time to jump on shuttles and go visit family members or other like close members of their inner circles who might be on neighboring star bases within reach of warp factor. So the Rosses enjoyed just 2 days of nothing. Passive scans, collecting scientific data from celestial events that are taking place in the neighboring 200 light years that you're getting information from Federation sensor nets. It has been basically a time to sit back, look through a telescope, reconnect with crew members, and relax a little bit. In that time, it's been very quiet from some of your senior staff members who went to Risa and other places. In particular, your senior staff, Captain Azari. Now, they were under orders to relax at Risa, but also to be aware that the rumors that had been sent to you by Starfleet Intelligence that a Ferengi with information as to an illegal arms deal or a sale of some kind that took place in the Romulan neutral zone on the Klingon side of the border might be found at Risa. Now, a lot of this evidence was completely inconclusive, but with that window of opportunity, why would you pass it up? Risa's a good distance away, but you've got some pretty fast shuttlecraft, long distance travel, so you sent a few of the crew members of the USS Ross to take this time to kick back and enjoy what Risa had to offer. You haven't heard from them since that mission was initiated about 3 days ago now. They're due today. As the USS Ross has been sitting at station keeping, sitting in your center chair with XEO by your side, it's about the middle of Alpha shift. And it's a nice, relaxing shift with just the hum of the USS Ross's dual engine cores. And the occasional chirping you hear from all the work being done at the science stations, the operations stations, security. It's been low key. Yeoman Shanto has basically just been delivering data pads to you. You've been getting reports from Asmi Shanto about what's been going on board the Ross. There have been a few minor incidents, a sprained wrist in the holodeck, maintenance being done on some of the plasma conduits on deck 13. There have been some minor fluctuations in the power grid. This is not uncommon for the USS Ross because of how much power she's using. But I will say this. By now, this deep into the mission, the crew of the USS Ross, our Ox crew, has become very aware that the USS Ross is a big, beautiful girl who gets real temperamental sometimes and requires a lot of upkeep. There's a lot of power going through those plasma conduits all the time. And what you guys have discovered since this Ross class launched is that she requires a little more maintenance than your standard Galaxy class starship or even Sovereign class starship. The trade-off, though, is what you have discovered in this time, Chief Tech, is that the USS Ross has remarkable capabilities of recharging her power grid at a moment notice, which can lead to some pretty advantageous options. Anything from power transfers to other ships, as well as the use of overpowered tractor beams, which you know the captain loves. All sorts of options that are available to you. The engineering team has been using this time to try to fine-tune and tweak the Ross. The sick bay, main sick bay, and the ancillary sick bays have all been pretty quiet, with a few injuries that, of course, come in from the holodeck, which is pretty standard. Maybe 1 or 2 injuries in the past couple of days. Nothing unusual. All in all, it's been quiet. You are expecting the shuttlecraft to arrive within the next hour. And that is where we open our scene. With Exio sitting next to you, Captain Sull. Chief Tech is up on the engineering station behind Prawl, currently monitoring all the maintenance work that's taking place on every deck of the ship, from 1 down to 40. And even Lacat and Vren have been quiet, sitting at their stations, monitoring their work, monitoring what's going on.
Lacat is on the shuttle.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Lacat's on the shuttle.
With me, yes.
So that's
Don't
right.
take away my...
McCrell, you're not even there. Okay, so that's right.
No.
Lacat and McCrell are on the shuttlecraft headed back from Risa. What's up, Aki?
And Olin. And Olin.
Yeah,
The
this is just
ambassador-
this scene is for Bridge Crew. I'm sorry. What's up, Aki?
Olin is on the shuttle too.
Yeah. This is a Bridge Crew scene. So that's who we've got on the bridge at the moment.
Check the decks again. None of them are on fire?
Don't do that to me, Captain. Don't do that to me.
It's a matter of time. Sooner or later, this crew... I want us to be ready. It inevitably happens.
Is catching things on fire your current worry? Because I'll put that up as a priority if I need to.
I'm not
Captain,
worried about
yeah.
catching fire. I'm worried about them setting fires to things. Or, have you found anything about that goose?
That goose.
At that point, Prawl speaks up and says, Captain, if I could make a suggestion, I think we might be able to use this time to perhaps run some fire drills on the EPS conduits throughout the ship. Considering how much power the Ross generates, it's always a possibility we might have a blowout.
Excellent. Start drilling them. Keep them out of trouble.
I can provide fire if you need it, Captain.
Ah!
This is how it starts. This is my ship. I love
There's
him.
an alarming chirp coming through sensors. And Prawl leans over the tactical, giving kind of a curious look. You see the Trill's eyes quirk up a little bit and says, Captain, I'm detecting a ship entering the system. Decora-class Ferengi cruiser. And it's matching the registry of the liquidator. They're coming into hailing frequencies range, Captain.
All right, hail them.
Coming on screen. Appearing on screen is a Ferengi who has... You didn't realize that it was physically capable for a Ferengi to have that big of a shit-eating grin on his face. And yet, there's Sprack B, looking back at you, dressed in finery, sitting center chair of the Decora-class cruiser Liquidator. And with flair, he throws his hands up and goes, Captain.
Captain.
Damon.
Oh.
Damon. I bet you didn't know I was a Damon. I was. I am again. Damon Sprack. It's always had a nice ring.
Glad that you might hear it ring again. What brought about your reversal of fortunes?
Oh, we have a bit of a story to tell you, Captain. I have your crew members on board. Not just your crew members, we also have my treacherous brother in custody, as well as some interesting information concerning a trade he made with a certain Romulan of your acquaintance.
We'll expect you aboard presently, then. My transporter chief will be in touch.
Excellent. Oh, and Captain, before you go, if I might just recommend that if you're somebody who likes to see things that are pleasing to the eye, I would suggest an external view so that you can see the Liquidator in all of her glory. She's really quite the vessel.
I appreciate your looking out for my aesthetic sense.
You're very welcome, Captain. Sprack out. Cuts. Prawl just says, at least we don't have to worry about him being on board anymore.
I think finally where it suits him.
He got a happy ending. We can be happy for him.
Yeah, that's assuming Vryn turns around that this is the last time we're going to have to deal with him. And Ferengi work like earth gum on your shoe. I have noticed. Not to sound discriminatory. Obviously, Ferengi are wonderful people. I'm just saying they don't go away. Especially if you make friends with one or one that this is a good course heading, Captain. I'm going to say it's station keeping.
I'm gonna go check on Sing and check it down.
Thank you, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Commander, shall we head down to the transporter pad and meet our returning crew?
Presently.
Down at the transporter pad, Chief Singh sees you walk in and gives a small smile under that fine black beard of his and turns towards the transporter pad and begins to energize. You see as the blue columns of energy begin to scatter across the transporter pad and begin to form into the shapes of your crew members. As the beams clear, you see your returning crew as well as Daemon Skag, who again is wearing the full refinery of a typical Daemon now. They're all returned. So Makrell, Lakat, and Olin back on board, along with Daemon Skag.
You mean Sprack?
Sprack, sorry. I'm going to always get those two's names.
Yeah,
confused.
it's okay.
Myself. Sprack.
It's all right. You can tell the difference because one is a daemon and the other is about to be in our brig.
And the other one is a prisoner.
I'll just be like, Captain, we had such a nice vacation.
I've never seen a vacation quite so productive.
Yes. The intelligence that you shared with us was actually quite accurate. In fact, we might want to interrogate Sprague as soon as possible before he forgets any of his important details of the deal.
I see.
Sorry, I need to speak up here. And Sprack steps off the transport pad and the Daemon says, first of all, permission to come aboard.
Permission granted, Daemon.
Thank you. As I was saying, unfortunately, I don't think my dear brother is going to be able to be interrogated at the moment. But I can give you assurances that we've extracted all the information we can and can present it to you as necessary, as well as some of the information we were able to uncover in the data core of my ship.
If you're curious as to some of the finer details of why that is the case, I'd be more than happy to brief you later, Captain.
I think I'll be needing after-action reports on this whole circumstance as quickly as possible. It sounds like quite the vacation.
Vacation is certainly a word for something akin to what we did, I guess.
Yes, and Lakat brought souvenirs.
She did. She has gifts for everyone.
She holds up a Horgon and just says, I still don't fully understand what this is, Captain.
Aren't you trained in anthropology, Ambassador?
I am, and trust me, I explained several times.
I just don't... That's fine. It'll make good kindling, if nothing else, if like we're in a survival situation.
Sorry,
It seems to be...
a souvenir.
The cat nods.
Do you have each? You have one for each of us.
There were just a lot of them. I thought I was supposed to get one for everybody. So
They were essentially all they had in the gift shop, to be perfectly honest. It's not...
I'll see your reports on my desk in the hour. And I'm out.
okay, you turn on heel, and they watch you leave, and the cat just goes, there was a fight in a gift shop, and we had to buy them all, or they were going to be angry with us.
It's true.
The very policy of you break it, you buy it, and we broke most of them.
Most of them, yeah. And
Yes.
I guess a broken Horgon means something that a lot of the locals were not particularly excited about. So
I didn't break anything, but there you go. In
I
any
want to
case,
walk up to Lakat and just accept the gift.
She looks at you and goes, "Oh yeah," and hands it to you, and says, "Permission to be dismissed to prepare for this debriefing."
Permission granted.
And if it's all
She
right, I
hands
think-
one to Chief Sang on the way out, and Sang looks at it and goes, "Oh no, 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 no."
I'll
And
turn over to
Stack goes, "I'll take that," and
Olin excuses themselves and follows after the captain.
okay,
The captain.
the captain. Okay.
Tech will sort of eye up all the Horgons and then turn to Sing and be like, "We're just gonna put all this in the replicator, right? We can just beam it in there."
Oh yes, Chief. We can recycle all of this.
Oh yeah, I meant you. Sorry, bye. And then he'll pop out.
No, I guess I'll take care of this then. Catching up to the captainette just as they enter the turbo lift. You see Olin approaching just as the doors are about to close, and they open back up.
Ambassador,
Captain?
tell me at least you got some sun. Something.
I mean, even if I did, do you think it would do anything with this particular complexion?
Maybe something for the vitamin D levels. Maybe something for the warmth.
Fair enough. I did make sure that Lacat went on a couple of hikes.
Ah, I'm sure that suited her at least. And the whatever I will read in an hour with an after-action report. Drinks with an umbrella in them?
Of course,
Anything,
of course.
any real...
A nice vacation romper, shades, some tropical drinks, a book, a couple of very good books. I tend to vacation rather quietly. I did go on a couple of scuba dives, though. Those were very lovely.
I'm sure you didn't catch this lift to tell me about your scuba dives. Is there anything I can do?
If you don't mind, I would rather actually prefer to give you my debriefing verbally, if that's all right. I will, of course, put it in a report, but I thought you should know as soon as possible that we were not the only people there with an interest in Scrag, which is why he's not available for questioning right now.
Who? And what did they do to Scrag?
They didn't do anything to him that a Klingon wouldn't do.
Huh.
Apparently, Scrag has been making deals with all kinds of people on Admiral Mendak's behalf.
And so Klingons were hunting him.
We ran into each other on Risa. Since we were both after the same quarry, we cut a bit of a deal with them. We got the liquidator, they got Scrag.
Fair enough exchange.
Did give us quite a bit of detail, though, in the interim. And I think we made some friends with the people on that ship, so if we need any further detail, at some point we probably just need to contact them.
Oh, it was a ship crew.
It was, the IKS Borku, I believe.
Haven't heard of it.
No, not familiar to me either, but their crew is very, very efficient. The commander was something else. I think you would have liked her.
Maybe someday. But we have a lot on our plate, and I think Klingon involvement is the least of our problems right now.
Well, the other thing I can tell you is it's more likely than not we'll run into them again. They are also assigned to the Shackleton Expanse.
So, Captain, just for your knowledge, you're aware of every ship that is stationed in Shackleton, and this is the first you've heard.
That tracks.
Well, I mean, it's the first Olin is heard too, so.
I mean, you're kind of getting an
We're
update.
all on the
You guys,
same page here.
it's completely possible that you're getting this information before Admiral April Aber gets it, or got it, or it's possible that Aber already knows and just hasn't communicated it to the Ross yet.
There's a ship out there that has intelligence that our Klingon allies have not shared with us, are hunting the same quarry, which means they have a fairly large pool of intelligence, and they're being assigned in our working area exactly the radically coincidental place that a niomnipotent trickster being has been repeatedly urging us to go, and that is roughly the sequence of thoughts contained in
Okay.
In any case, Captain, I shouldn't be surprised if we ran into them again. And if we don't, then, well, the Shackleton expanse is rather large, and we can just chalk it up to that.
In the meantime, we'll see what we can get off of this Liquidator's data core.
And not only that, I had an idea. I know I don't exactly need to run it by you, but I wanted to let you know what I was up to. And that is, I'm going to be reaching out at some point to the Federation Diplomatic Corps and trying to get in contact with whoever it is that's currently assigned to Romulus, and see if I can't get some information there. Or at least let them know that stuff is going down, in case they're not aware. At least with your permission.
I thought everything we went through wrapped up rather nicely with their stuff.
I mean, with the ship that's following us.
Yes. Well, if the Diplomatic Corps has any information that they're at liberty to share with us, I would always be obliged.
Well, we're often much more in the dark than you are, but every now and again, if the right person has their ear to the ground, I'm sure they could pick up something. So...
Be good to know what on earth is happening with that Romulan civil war I keep hearing about.
At the very least, the Federation Diplomatic Corps might have some insight into what's the current climate on the planet is, at the very least.
Good luck then, and let me know. I hope you have a better time talking to your superiors than I do sometimes with mine.
I haven't spoken to my superior since I got assigned. So this will be the first time for me.
Have fun.
The door is open as you see the bridge of the USS Ross before you and the deep blues and the pale lights all around you, Olin. It's very familiar to step back onto the bridge. You see all the familiar Aux crew members that are spattered around, currently doing busy at work for a ship that's not currently going anywhere, are keeping quite busy analyzing the data that's coming in. However, as you step out onto the bridge, the first thing you see is Prawl step forward to meet both you and the captain. Prawl nods and says, "Welcome back, Ambassador."
Thank you so much, Prawl. Did keep my chair warm for me.
I did, and there is a priority message for you currently on the line, Ambassador. The Secretary of Exterior, Azalius Jat, is requesting to speak with you.
Huh. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Thank you. I will take it downstairs. Not downstairs, you know what I mean. I will take it down in the diplomatic suites. I'll be back, Captain, if you'll excuse me.
Absolutely.
And I hop back in the turbolift and I head back down to my office.
Okay. Olin, when you reach the promenade deck moments later, when the doors open, you are hit with a wall of sound. Because the promenade deck is currently hosting what seems to be a music festival. There is a large gathering of Aux crew, and the sounds of acoustic guitars and percussion and bagpipes can be clearly heard echoing out all throughout the promenade area as soon as you enter. And you can hear laughter and clapping as people are playing along. On what looks like a makeshift stage, being surrounded by some pretty spectacular miniaturized firework displays in the background, thanks to the clever hollow emitters fashioned all over the promenade deck. You see members of the Ox crew, Crewman Mikhail, Ensign Andred, Lieutenant Mello, and Lieutenant Jola. All seem to be up on stage, blasting and playing along to what seems to be an improvised Celtic folk festival happening right there on the promenade deck. It's an unusual sight to see Ox crew and like a bursted moment of celebration, but it's clear that a few of the members of the Ox crew decided to take the captain's orders to relax to heart. And synthahol drinks are being passed around, and everyone seems to be having a good. Uniforms are open and casual. Like everyone seems to be enjoying themselves.
Am I on duty?
This is absolutely.
Do you want to be down there, XEO?
I do.
Okay. You do see Commander XEO is currently, it looks like probably freshly arrived, maybe just before you, Olin, because as XEO is entering this crowd of people, a few of the Ox crew seeing XEO step in, smiling, acknowledging that they're off duty, kind of open their arms to welcome their XO into the group and immediately pass her a drink. You see a few people teaching what looks like an Andorian crew member how to river dance in the center of what looks like a floor. And the Andorian is kind of like watching their feet, taking it rather cautiously, rather slowly, making sure that they're getting all of these steps right.
I know how to river dance.
Yeah. What's that?
I know how to river dance.
You do?
One of my EXCs is dance.
That's right. Do you want to join in?
Yes, but I'm not taking the scene. I just wanted to be there. That's all you get.
Okay.
River dance.
So,
and I'm waving at you, Olin. Go on. Bye. Hello. Bye.
Delightful.
Put your arms down, XEO. This is river dance. And you just see Tech over like a buffet table.
Absolutely lovely. I might have to go out there and join them when I'm done with this.
Okay.
So yeah, Olin kind of takes us in, and they have a big smile on their face, acknowledging everybody as they're walking towards their office.
Crewman Mikhail, who is currently up on the stage and actually playing the acoustic guitar, you can see is crewman. Remember, Crewman Mikhail, you know, is it goes by Misha for short. And Misha is actually one of Commander Prall's most trusted security officers. What you know about Misha is that Misha is technically a Federation Ranger. He's kind of like elite special forces, good for like hostage extraction and infiltration, stuff like that, used as a sort of a last resort, and was specifically requested on the USS Ross by Prall due to his service record. You also know that this friendly, like handsome-faced Arabic man is a huge fan of cultural music across the spectrum and is enjoying playing this loud Celtic tune, spots you and nods to you and shouts out Ambassador, and you get a lot of the Ox crew shouting Ambassador and like raising their mugs as sort of like the hyperactive energy is spreading through the crowd.
It's the new huzzah!
Yeah.
And I think that kind of startles Olin just a little bit. They're not used to that level of like attention from the crew. It's so when they come into their office, they're kind of sort of like, you know, straightening their uniform and kind of a little bit flustered, but also like good crew, a very nice crew.
You see on the computer in front of you is the insignia of the Federation, along with the quick description of who it is who's calling. The UFP Secretary of the Exterior is in the President's inner circle. This is the head of the diplomatic corps for Starfleet Command.
Great. Before I take it, I just, is there anybody in the office right now? Like any of my other?
No, it's just you.
Okay. All right, cool. Then in that case, I just really quickly type out department debrief at 0800 basically, and just send that out.
Okay.
To my group, and then I take the message.
It's just on screen, looking up from maybe a data pad, you see the elderly Afrosian male and a mentor of yours to the diplomatic corps and a friend of your father's. It's been a while since you've seen his face. The big tuft of white hair coming off the front of his face, over his lips and down. He's got these vibrant electrical blue eyes and this mane of white hair that cascades down the sides of his very fine-looking ambassadorial robed uniforms. He also bears a lot of insignias showing his rank in office. This is a lifetime dedicated to diplomacy, and the look on his face is this, he does these things that Afrosians are sometimes known for, but his head jerks up and he stares right at you. And you've known him long enough, Olin, to know that is a bad look. And he just says, Olin, you're looking well.
Is something wrong, sir?
Cutting straight to it, I see. Yes, I understand that my contacting you is a bit unusual. Yes, something is very, very wrong. And he removes these little glasses, he unpins them from the bridge of his nose and says, we have received an accounting of an assault upon a Dominion ambassador at Starbase 105. Now, I'm not calling to chastise you or to strip you of your current position. Your father has pulled strings, I have pulled strings, and it hasn't been made known who's responsible for this. We do have video, however. Security footage shows the events as they took place, but none of this is as important as the fact that in retribution, this Dominion ambassador has contacted the Romulan embassy to inform them of the trade that the Federation made in secret with the Dominion. We've got lucky, Olin, because the Romulan he reached out to, unknowingly a friend of ours, is Ambassador Pagino, stationed at Narendra Station. Ambassador Pagino is going to be awaiting you when you arrive. He has terms he wishes to discuss.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Olin, you can't let these people get to you or they win. Do you understand?
I do, sir. Believe me when I say that I consider much of my discourse with Nadrin to have been a failure on my part. And I did let my temper get the best of me. And that is all I will say.
This could have been catastrophic. You are in a position of such power and influence. The decisions you make can have a ripple effect across the governments of the Alpha and Beta quadrants. Now, given the nature of this mission, and the fact that we were dealing directly with Founder Odo through his attaché, I don't see any lasting effects from this, and because I am fully aware of your value to the diplomatic corps, we can let this matter rest, but you are out of credit at the bank, as the Ferengi like to say. We cannot have something like this ever happen again, Olin.
Understood.
But that's not the only reason why I'm contacting you. I'm also contacting you to congratulate you. Because without you, the USS Ross would not have been able to accomplish her mission in capturing the Changeling. You did well, using the resources available to you to secure the technology that was required in order to capture the Changeling.
Thank you.
And because of that, I'm being allowed by the President to keep you at your post.
Understood.
My first diplomatic mission, I got drunk and I confused a Romulan ambassador with a Vulcan ambassador. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life, and it cost me dearly. I think we're all going to have mistakes, Olin. But above all, we cannot take things personally. We have to remove ourselves from the equation when we're talking on behalf of the Federation.
Of course.
Well, hopefully we will never have to have this conversation again. Well done on the mission. And let's use this rare opportunity to learn from our mistakes.
You have my assurance this will not happen again.
You're a fine ambassador, Olin Marginil. Starfleet out.
Well, at least he didn't ask me to say I was sorry.
No, notably he did not.
And Olin goes over to the replicator and makes himself a cup of tea and sits down and starts writing up their report.
Okay. Back up on the bridge. We'll say an hour passes unless anybody has anything they want to do before we get back to it. Okay. The debrief. Everyone gathers together in the room. Tech, you are slightly winded, just a little bit. After eating that much and dancing, you're slightly, a little bit. Exio, of course, looking immaculate as she walks through the door, being a hologram, completely fine. Even though dancing non-stop data style for like an hour. As you're all filtering into the room, Vren sits down and he's like, "What happened to you? You okay?"
Dancing. It's just a bit of dancing.
Dancing? Where? Where was there dancing? I didn't know there was dancing.
And the promenade. It was so loud.
Oh,
How'd you miss it?
that's right. Yeah, I forgot there's supposed to be a thing today. Okay, that's fine. Shift is over. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll still be going. It'll be going. It'll be going until the wee hours.
I'm sure. I mean, and Lacat didn't get a chance to go, so maybe you could ask her.
Hey, Lacat, and she's like, probably not. And he goes, oh, okay.
I tried. I'm sorry.
And then in true Lacat fashion goes, actually, you know what? Yes.
Unexpected.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we'll go. This is good. And you too, Doctor. You know, you've got more dexterity than most of us.
Yes, I do.
At that point,
That is
Paul
true.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Macrell.
I just said that is true.
Prawl Prawl starts to sit down and says, "Let's settle, everyone. Let's settle." Takes a seat at the chair. Sprack slides into the long chair. It is impossibly larger than he is. He just kind of leans back in it and goes, "I suppose you could replicate one of these for me, would you? I could pay."
Get right on it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna knowingly look at him and go, Damon.
Ah, yes. That is a sweet sound coming from you, Doctor. And everybody else, feel free to call me Damon as well. Instead of Sprack. I'm going by Damon for a while. Just gotta click back in.
Good afternoon. Have I missed anything, or are we ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Say the word, Captain.
So, Apparently, we went to Russia. There were some Klingons there. They were also searching for my brother. I didn't realize that my brother could possibly be there. We uncovered his location, and there was a big fight with the Nausicaans by the poolside. Absolutely thrilling to watch from afar. And when it was all over, we had my brother in custody. I was able to reclaim my ship and maroon only about 12 of the crew members. Unfortunately, everyone else is now in my debt, as according to Ferengi law. So they'll be in servitude for the next... Hold on.
Well, the daemon is calculating. Did we get anything from the data core?
And also, Captain, just to reiterate, it wasn't really a fight, more like an altercation with oils.
As is the Rycian way.
96 years. So, loyalty of being assured, I now have full control of my ship and can say with assurances, Captain, that the data that is in the main core of my computer is yours at a bargain price.
Sounds like a plan. Let us say that room, board, and military-grade warp speed transportation that you have been given over the past few weeks constitute payment in trade.
Yes, and your personal escort to Ryza to altercate your brother.
Of course, the
find this-
contracted services.
This I find to be perfectly acceptable. All debts paid, the information will be yours.
Value given for value received. So when can I expect the core?
This is your daemon. You can commence the info transfer immediately. Yes. Yes, what? Yes, daemon. That's right. He clicks it off and says... And about that point, you see on the computer screen, you see information start to stream over from the liquidator. The first thing that you see is sensor data starting to appear on the screen, and that grabs Paul's attention, who leans forward on the table, because you see on the sensor screen your first image of what looks like this variant of Tavaro-class Romulan warbird. It's only very brief, but you see the deep green hull and the vibrant seafoam green nacelles that kind of like blade-like on the sides. For Ox crew who might be watching at home, I am absolutely borrowing from the stunningly gorgeous design of the Tavaro warbird in Star Trek Online. It is so cool looking. So if you need a picture of that, that is essentially what you all see on this sensor screen, the readout. Now, the Tavaro warbird, as far as the Federation know, has been out of use for over 100 years. It is an old Romulan ship. This one follows the same basic design patterns, but looks wholly updated and completely different. It is dramatically smaller. It's about scale 4.
How detailed are these schematics? Can we use them?
No schematics,
further
just
target
sensor
our
images.
Just
Just sensor images, yeah. And no internal sensor readings. You only get a read on essentially the frame of the ship. This apparently is the ship that belongs to one Admiral Mindak. And if my brother is to be believed, and I believe after the Klingon hit him the third time, he is to be believed, the ship's name is the Aliaha. I don't speak Romulan.
Can anybody help him?
Aha. That's what it was. Aha.
Okay.
Do you mind spelling it for them?
The spelling is AEHALLH. Who here? Oh, I think that's actually you, Exio. And
Yes.
might actually be you too, Olin.
Yes.
You both have.
I have
You all
linguistics.
speak Romulan?
I have linguistics, so probably. And
Okay. Let's both. Whoever wants to make the roll and assist here.
I'll assist on this one if you like me to, or do you want to do it the other way around?
It depends on what this roll is. I don't know what's happening.
This is going to be a linguistics check. So this is literally going to be your reason plus, I think, ooh, this is interesting. I think this would be a reason con check. No, I'm sorry. A reason, I would say reason science check.
Okay.
And I will command as well, because it kind of falls into both. But science mostly. So if you've got high reason science.
I have a decent reason science check, but.
Okay. The difficulty is 1.
Actually, Olin, I will suggest that I assist you. I have languages as a base counselor form in case anyone wants to have sessions with me in their native tongue, but it is not a specific specialty of mine.
Okay.
It is just a subset of a program of mine. And since this is what you specifically do, I will assist you.
Okay. Then I'll make the reason science. Ooh, it's my very first reason science check.
And you guys might get some momentum from this. Difficulty is 1, and Exio, go ahead and I would say make an insight science check for you.
Okay, so I'm using a focus. So let's see how this goes. Ooh, I got 3 successes.
Okay. And so that's going to be 3 total momentum y'all generate, because Exio got 1.
Yay!
4 total, you hit a difficulty of 1, so 3 momentum for you. Yeah. This word in Romulan means, it could mean a couple of things. It could mean ghost, specter, wraith.
Well, that's interesting.
If you have you communicated this out loud, or is this something that I'll?
I think considering that I've received an assist from Exio on this, then I would probably have started like
a little bit of a
speculating
dialogue.
aloud. Yeah, speculating aloud. Well, it could mean this, or oh yes, and with this sort of inflection, it could mean that. Like along with Exio, we're kind of going over the different.
Exio, Macrell, Azuri. The 3 of you. If you want to spend 1 momentum, I'll give you an obtain information check here, because this is Star Trek Adventures does specify that if there is information to be had, a GM can tell you that there's something to gain here if you want to spend the momentum.
Yes, please. We do.
So for those of you who have the physiological capability of experiencing this, a chill runs up your spine. Because long ago, in conversations with Wellix, he was having nightmares about being sucked out into the void of space after being chased by a ghost. It was months ago. You had that conversation with him in the halls, in the corridors of the USS Ross, where he was telling you about how it was waking him up at night, which would seem to suggest that Wellix might subconsciously or even consciously know something about Mindak and this weapon.
Dr. Macrell.
Yeah.
We need to pull up. We've been keeping track of his, we've
His
both
sessions,
formed
yes.
To start keeping a dream journal and things of the nature, and in the form of the holodeck scenario where he was supposed to start replicating memories. There might be stuff we can interpret as possibly less than imaginary of his sort of dream state, and start interpreting those dreams for what they are in reality.
Yes, but I would suggest that we tread very carefully. Right now, his mental stability is questionable, and
Yes.
if we create the dreams and nightmares that have been literally haunting him.
Oh, yes. No, I don't mean to involve him in them. I mean for us to possibly hunker down and start sifting through those past journals with a different perspective.
Yes, I see. To find subconscious hidden meanings within the symbolicness of it all. I agree. I can pull my records, you can pull yours, and we could compare and contrast.
And he might be willing to tell us a little bit about anything he does consciously know, if he knows that he was being asked for by name.
If
I'm inclined to interview him.
yes, I would agree that we should I've been working with him, trying to keep his mind staying active and giving him different activities to do, and it seems to be helping him, keeping him a little bit more alert. But if he's suppressing these types of memories, they might be too far gone.
Sorry. This has nothing to do with me. So if you don't need anything else, I'm gonna head back to my ship and get underway, Captain. If that's all right.
Quite.
Well, it's been great. He stands up and says, "Listen, if you ever run into that Orion, and you know who I'm talking about, just tell him I said thanks. He's a good guy. Not too bad. If he lives, should do business with him. Catch y'all later. Thank you again. Damon Sprack is out." And he walks out the door. And Vren just says, "I should have been a demon."
I'm gonna like under my breath being like, is it weird that I'm going to miss him?
And Olin
Yes,
just sort of
Thrall says immediately.
Olin leans over and says, I think I might miss him too.
Counseling is always available.
I will not miss him that much.
I think Tech will lean over with Vren, and I want to look closer at the image that we got. Is there any way that we can enhance what we've been scanning now that we have some sort of visual data? We can sort of fine tune these scans that we've been working on.
It's entirely possible that. Let me put it this way. It's entirely possible that you might be able to detect a shadow now in a way that you couldn't before. And if at the very least you have some data that can inform the computer when it is making its calculations on its data that it has scanned. In other words, you might have marginally increased your ability to detect this thing. But if it's Romulan cloaking technology, right now the only thing you have to go on is neutron radiation. So far you've been able to detect its presence, but locating it while it's out there is still elusive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Aki.
I hesitate to ask because I don't know the medical implications of such a maneuver, but if Wellix is experiencing subconscious interference that he may or may not remember, what is the viability of telepathy to help him retrieve some of those memories? Have we consulted with any of the Vulcans aboard?
That is one avenue that we have yet to try. The unstable nature of his brain at the moment could be permanently damaging to anyone who telepathically connects to him. Doing some kind of mind meld could be catastrophic, considering that his mind is not fully well to meld with.
Understand.
We can't do it anyway. His intelligence, it would be putting precious classified information at the hands of Federation officers. We could not ask that of him. He would refuse. I know I would.
I was just curious.
It's a good instinct. If we could get there, it might help, but we can't ask a Romulan to trust us too much.
I'd say he's gone above and beyond with trust already, but...
Exactly.
This may sound strange, but on Earth they say that when it comes to paranormal spirits like ghosts, certain animals like dogs and cats were able to sense them. It was like an old wives' tale. I'm not saying that's actually true, but what if we took something like that scenarially wise? Because right now we are using our sensors in a way. Is there a way to do this outside of the box to make it Because right now we're obviously looking for something, but maybe we just need to sense something, not with a sensor. This probably doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to use metaphors, which I'm not very good at, and Earth.
Romulans are notoriously difficult to sense.
Yes. And so are ghosts. Yet they say little kitties and dogs can sense them.
Am I the kitty or the dog in this scenario?
No.
Oh, no, this is absolutely hooking patients up to the sensor array.
No,
We all thought this. It was the inevitable consequence. You bag the dog, and now all of a sudden,
If anything, I would be volunteering myself, but that would not work. I'm not saying to hook up any animal to sensors. No. I'm saying we should use that kind of
Intuition.
Oh, it's not
Thank
wrong.
you, Tech. Yes,
We're used to looking on a certain set of spectra, and
Yes.
stealth capabilities have always been predicated on hiding around those and on our known sensor capabilities. If we're going to find this ship, we shouldn't try to pierce their best defended point, their intentionally built stealth. What aren't they mindful of us seeing? Look at. See what you can figure out.
Yes, Captain. Prawl leans forward and says, if they follow the same rules as cloaking technology on other vessels, that device probably draws a lot of power. And a ship that size probably doesn't have a lot to spare.
A very good point. You work with the lieutenant. Figure it out. All right, we all have our work cut out for us, I think.
Vryn raises his hand and says, I'm sorry, Captain. I just, real quick, are we still on shore leave technically, or is that done, so?
What we are doing now is we are doing a low power passive scan of this nebula from within the nebula, if we can manage it.
I can take us in.
Excellent.
It is a Mutara class nebula, though, Captain, so it's going to be bumpy.
Oh, and it might disrupt the scanners of any cloaked Romulan vessel looking for us.
Definitely, but it'll also disrupt our own shields and sensors.
Well, then you better fly well.
Oh, that's easy. I can do that, yeah. I can do that.
All right. Dismissed.
All right. Everyone headed out onto the bridge. Bryn slides into the helm. It says, forward momentum, 1/4 impulse power taking us towards the nebula. You see this splash of pinks and purples and dark golds all in front of the view screen right now. This nebula is about 7 light years across. It is a big nebula. As y'all are moving into it, Vryn says, we'll be reaching the perimeter of the nebula in 15 minutes. I recommend we go to yellow alert, Captain.
I set yellow alert throughout the ship.
Yellow alert, aye. The moment the yellow lights begin to flash on the command consoles, there is a party that is sadly canceled on the promenade. It's like, oh, kind of like, oh, as everyone immediately starts putting down their drinks, zipping up their uniforms, and scattering off the promenade.
Can we just say that the bagpipes go
Yeah.
as it like deflates, like, as bagpipes are prone to do?
Almost as if punctuating that the party is at least postponed. The coverings to the promenade deck immediately just, as the outer shelled hull begins, the shielding slides over those top windows, covering it completely. That blue ring disappearing momentarily from the saucer section of the USS Ross. And the Ross moves towards the nebula, 15 minutes away. What is everyone else doing during this process?
I'm going back to the medical bay. First off, I wasn't really, wanting to be on vacation. Anyway, I'm still working on Dr. Wellix's, I'm still working on integrating possible Borg technology to help, stimulate his brain activity and help with the decaying brain tissue. And now that with Exio, now that we have that idea with kind of comparing notes about his dreams and seeing if we can kind of maybe figure out some kind of pattern or puzzle that his dreams have been subconsciously telling us. That's what McCarl's doing.
Yeah, piggyback on that. Likewise, going to be interfacing with Dr. McCarl while going through the recorded hologram. I'll be in the hologram deck, the holodeck.
The holodeck. Okay.
Reviewing through the actual images that he has created in the holodeck of replicating all of his memories that he was providing for us, and piecing that.
You transfer your program down to deck 27 as holodecks 1 through 4 were in use before Yellow Alert was called, and you appear on holodeck 5. This holodeck's a little bit smaller than the other ones, but it's still fully capable. And as you move over to the controls, you kind of wave your hands over them. The holographic projection comes up. Interacting with these controls is happening at incredible speeds for you, Exio, as you just move through it and start loading up Wellix's dream sequences as they were. And immediately these sort of miniature pocket dimensions of consciousness form in front of you, all displayed out like dreams basically just taken and scattered out in front of you in the holodeck. A lot of the images are disjointed. You see you've helped him with this one, the faceless images of his wife and child. He's been having trouble remembering what they look like. So you see their forms out in front of you. You see a couple of other smatterings and whatnot. But what stands out to you is you see what could be looking like an apparition in space, like a void, like a pocket of space. And what looks like a faceless image of a humanoid emerging. And as you're looking at it a little closer, you do notice that it almost seems like maybe it has wings, like maybe a raptor's wings, which would be very in keeping with Romulan imagery, since the raptor is kind of it's symbolic of their superiority, their strength, their power.
Are there multiple classes of raptors? I'm not sure. Are there different kinds that have different functions or power levels or statuses?
Of warbirds? Like Romulan vessels?
Yeah.
Currently, the Federation is only aware of 2 different types of Romulan warships.
Okay.
The one is the Derdex class, and that's the one that is the most well-known. The Derdex class is the Romulan warship that you guys have encountered already before. It is the largest. Currently, it could be easily stated that it is the largest. Well, I don't know. It's difficult to say with the Sovereign class now in service and with the USS Ross now in service. It's on scale. But the Romulan Derdex class warship historically has been the largest and most fearsome warship currently traveling the stars.
It is a scale 7 while we are a scale 6.
Right. It is a monster ship.
We can still take it.
However, the Romulans do have a smaller, faster attack ship, a battle cruiser known as the Mogai. And the Mogai didn't make its first appearance until about the same time the uprising with Praetor Shinzon took place. And the Enterprise E was almost completely destroyed. The Mogai is a brand new style ship that is actually quite large, but most of it is wing. It literally resembles a giant raptor in space. It's almost like the Romulans took it a little literally this time and tried to create a battleship that resembled something that could intimidate its opponents.
All right. Well, can I pull up an image of what we know that looks like and sort of lower the opacity and see if the
sort of match it?
If the physical structure is sort of his image. I'm sort of talking out loud with McCrell.
Yes, let's put the puzzle pieces
Put
together.
them over each other and see if the symbolism is lining up, that he is assigning this image to a person to further emulate that whoever the captain of this ship is that he is afraid of, he obviously possibly is equating them as one image. This ship is this person, and if someone is connected to a ship, they might be easier to locate.
So as you sort of you and McCrell begin to transpose a lot of the imagery of some of these holographic paintings, as they were, over one another. And the thing that starts to show up again and again is this vague imagery of raptor wings constantly, and it's like different formats. But what you do pull out is the Mogai ship that the Federation has intelligence on does specifically have as the imagery on the ship itself almost resembles a raptor's wings underneath. Now, just to clarify, that's not unusual to find on Romulan warships. The Decoding class technically also kind of has that same design pattern on its hull. The old Tavaro class had it almost painted onto the hull. It was part of the imagery, blatantly imaged like onto the hull itself, to where it looked like the under half of a bird. This one is a lot more subtle. And as you continue to sort of transpose that, let's do an investigation roll here. So instead of doing an extended task, I think it's more appropriate to just do a straight up insight command roll. And if there wants to be an assist, I'll take a reason security check.
Let me assist.
Okay.
Okay.
This is my strong roll. So.
Yeah.
Okay. This is coming from a medical profession and using what you know of psychology, McCrell. I'm going to say that while Exio is rolling Insight Command, I would say, using your knowledge, I would say for you it's Insight Medicine.
Okay, because I could. Okay.
But you might have a specialty that would apply.
Ba-do-ba-boo.
Oh wait, you're assisting though, correct?
I'm assisting. Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. So then, what's up, Exio?
I was just gonna say, in a weird focus, would I be able to use my Holo Artist EXE to sort of decipher the meanings of these?
That's a great idea. That's a
Um,
great idea. Yes, you
Right.
can absolutely use your
Just
hard
to
mode.
check, is there another assist from the Ross?
You know, in this case, with Exio kind of playing the Ross like a harpsichord, I think absolutely. You're basically
Still don't know how
Ross
you
is
play
your
harpsichord
paintbrush right now, and you're using it. Plus,
we're
this
symphony together.
yes, essentially, this coupled with your knowledge of psychology, the fact that you've become very integrated and aware of, and have built a file on the personality traits of Wellix. This would absolutely be an artist rendition of like putting together psychologically what this Romulan might have been imagining in the mind, and cross-reference it with some of the images that you have. So,
And my psychiatry focus would not come into play either.
okay.
Would
I
it?
will say,
Or-
it's okay because you're assisting anyway. So, but yes, let's say that the Ross is assisting.
Okay.
Should the Ross roll computers medicine or?
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, let's have the Ross roll computers medicine. And I'm going to set the difficulty for this because considering it, I'm going to have a scaling difficulty here, which means no matter what you roll, you're probably going to get something back, but it depends. So that's going to be a lot of obtain information spins as you kind of sift through this, but I'm setting the difficulty for this rather challenging thing you're attempting to do at 4.
Okay. Gina, take a momentum.
Yeah,
for next night. Yeah.
I was gonna ask. Also, focuses don't apply if you are assisting.
They usually do.
Focuses do, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were telling McCrell her focus doesn't matter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was letting McCrell know that you had a focus anyway. So if they didn't have one that applied, you'd still get
Got it.
roll your crits. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. One success from Ross. One success from McCrell.
Put me on the spot.
You have determination. And you're under directive here, so.
I like that Gina face.
What is this face?
I'm not sure. I can't decipher it. My
I can't
psychiatry
read it
focus
either.
isn't working.
That's 5 for me.
Oh.
Whoa!
So we got 7 successes.
So y'all will max out
Which
on
I can
momentum.
show you this.
No, we get 3.
we have
Two
3. Because
crit.
difficulty 4. We get.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah. So 4 and crit. Okay. Nice.
Wait.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, we get 2 momentum.
Yeah, no, 5. I was like, wait, did I get 6? No, 5.
it's the complexity of the program that you're putting together. You're taking these faint images that, working with you therapeutically, Wellix has managed to reconstruct using your help to try to piece together his memory. And some of these images are very abstract. But using what you know of Wellix, your interaction with the holodeck, you're essentially able to make leaps in logic, assumptions, and things connect, and start basically doing what like an artist might do in a police drawing, and start constructing a scenario based off the information you're getting to actually build what is perhaps an accurate representation of what Wellix has been having nightmares about. Go ahead. I would say, as you're sifting through it, you begin to see images form of what look like two individuals, like these shadows that are standing side by side, two humanoid shadows. And behind them, again, are the imageries of raptors' wings. Now, every time Wellix has ever had any kind of nightmare, it's always had to do with the raptor's wings. The imagery of that has been present in every single one. But as you begin to sift through more and more of this holographic art show that you're doing of reassembling some of the images and dreams that he's having, you start seeing more and more clearly that these two silhouettes of humanoids are present. What initially looked like maybe the curvature of a gaseous anomaly, of a nebula in the background of a nightmare, is actually starting to take shape, and you're starting to make connections based off the psychological profile that you have mapped out, that these might in fact be people that he's been dreaming about this whole time, like perhaps ghosts behind the wings of a raptor coming for him in deep space. With that, if you want to obtain more information, you may.
We have a floating momentum, so.
Okay, so burning that one as an obtain information check, the image becomes a little more clearly defined, and you can see for sure what these raptor wings almost look like. Exio, it's representational, but you and McCrell cannot help but notice the similarities in coloration. The raptor wings almost take on a slight glow. That's sort of that seafoam green of the nacelles of that Tavaro class ship that you saw up in the ready room.
Exio, Commander, I think it would benefit us if the sensor picture that we got from the data core from Damon Sprack, if we showed
from across the sector,
as I rolled my eyes, if we showed that picture to Wellix, it might trigger some sort of memory, because it looks like this is the ship from his nightmares.
Absolutely. I must ask, is it safe to show him this? A more complete version of his nightmare?
At first, I think it will be startling, but at the same time, better to show him that it is just a physical object and not a paranormal void of space chasing after him. To actually put something physical to the unknown could actually help him maybe come to terms with his nightmares and see it as something that he could actually address head on.
It would be, in an ideal situation, exactly what happens. Ease the anxiety of a thing by getting to put a metaphorical face to it, but we also still don't have a very clear image. We are replacing one specter with one out there.
Yes, maybe Tech and Lacat can define the imagery from the data core, from the liquidator, and we could get some kind of a clearer picture, so we have something to show him that's more solid. It might be triggering for him. It's true, and it might. I don't know what the repercussions of it could be, but at this point in time, we are running out of time.
he doesn't have much time left. And right now we need as many answers as we can get until we can find some kind of remedy to keep his brain from deteriorating. If this can trigger some of his memories, this might actually be something of the best thing we could do for him.
I think I know how we can do it. Every image, he has the two people with the ship, with the wings. If we can get him to separate them, focus on the two people. Who are the two forms? Not the wings. The rings are the representation.
Right.
Who are the people? If he can identify the people for us, the ship is irrelevant. We will be able to find out more.
I agree. It maybe if we showed him what the ship looks like, he could see
He knows
it.
the people, Makrell. He knows who they are.
Yes, but if he could see the ship and solidify it, then possibly from his nightmares and from his visions that he sees, he can remove it entirely and focus easily more on the two people.
Yes, we should bring this to the captain right away.
I agree.
Can I take one more look at the images? He's obviously focusing on two people and the wings over and over, but I just want to do one quick sweep of because we don't know if he knows anything about this weapon beforehand. Has he drawn any imagery of a weapon? And I know the wings, like, for all we know, the wings are the weapon. Like, it just is there any alteration to the ship shape that he is, like, is there a part of the silhouette that is different from what we know as the standard silhouette and shape of this ship? Is there any additive to any curvature or wing or color differentiation from what we standardly know this ship looks like? That might give Makrell and Prawl an indication of where the weapon might be located, what shape is different to possibly focus on in case terrible scenario, it uncloaks and it's in front of us. Where do we aim? Sort of scenario.
Without making you spend momentum, I can tell you that there's just not enough information.
Okay.
In the gap. I don't want you to burn a momentum to get a no on that one. It's a big ask, but you can devise XEO as you start pondering this, and after talking to Makrell, your brain calculates that any information you were able to derive from that is not going to be verifiable. You can't trust it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I blip to the to medbay and we're gonna ping the captain.
Okay. Captain, you get a chirp.
Assault?
Hello, it is XEO. I'm here with Dr. Makrell. We may have some imaging that is imperative that we very cautiously show Dr. Wellix, with assistance and guidance from you as well.
Yes, Captain, it seems that the object haunting Dr. Wellix's dream is indeed the ship that has been chasing us this whole time.
There are two forms, though, not just one. With every single image of the ship, there are two forms. Faceless, shapeless, but humanoid nonetheless.
Side by side?
Side by side.
We feel...
quick clarification here. Was there any sort of standard difference? Like, was one step forward, or were they were side by side, correct?
It's difficult to tell. It almost looks like they're melding together. One might be standing in front of the other one. It's hard to say, but it almost looks like they're joined, but they don't seem like they're the same person. They're different heights in some occasions. You get the distinct impression they're two separate forms, but they're standing so close to each other that it's hard to say.
Incredibly connected, but distinct in separateness.
We believe that if we show the image to the ship that we received from the liquidator, to Dr. Wellix, it actually might help trigger some of his memories and why this ship and these figures are haunting him.
and hopefully explain a little bit of the leak that led his presence still to be known. If he has a previous connection to the ship, that could tell us more about why he's being hunted by them.
And why he's so valuable to them as well, yes.
All right, I'm on my way.
All right. While you are headed down to the med bay, where is Chief Tech right now?
Chief Tech has been taking this moment to go over more the data core that we're getting in from Sprack. And...
Okay. I need you to make an insight check here.
Okay.
So,
Oh dear.
as you're looking at the data,
We have tractor beams, it's fine. Why are you laughing?
I'm going to need you to make an insight engineering check.
Okay. What's the difficulty on it?
Difficulty will be 2.
Well, I got one that I got one success. Is there any sort of, let's see.
The Rotsa system?
Nope. This is literally just a moment of whether or not Chief Tech sees it. What focuses do you have, Tech?
I've got warp field dynamics, transporters and replicators, subspace theory, piloting, xenoculinary arts, and dual warp cores.
What was the first one? I'm sorry.
Warp field dynamics.
Yes. That will actually work.
Then
here.
I get a crit, so that is 2 successes.
Okay. Tech, you're looking at this and you keep thinking back and forth about why neutron radiation surges would be present in a cloaked vessel, because it's so unusual. A neutron radiation surge. What's that?
And we had found out earlier that one of the things that makes this like weapon dangerous is it can fire while the vessel
While
is
it's cloaked. And the only thing you have to go on is a neutron radiation surge.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to detect it unless that thing is up close.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're sitting here looking at this, and you're just thinking about it over and over, you start thinking about the way energy is transferred in a vessel and how power feeds through from its core, essentially, its warp core. And the exhaust that's caused.
Right.
As neutron radiation, a surge of neutron radiation would seem to hint that activity being conducted under cloak with this new sort of cloaking device would obviously, it's expelling that energy. And as you're sitting here thinking about that and looking at the data, you suddenly get a wild idea.
Are we going to be like the little kitty and dogs?
A crazy idea pops into your head. You might be able to create some kind of sensor ping.
A fart detector.
That not 100% reliable. But as you're thinking about it and looking through the data pad, it occurs to you, kind of like in the old sailor days on Earth when they had naval combat. They used to do loud sensor pings to see if they could get metal reverberations off the hull of subs and locate them. You might be able to do something similar that seeks out pockets of neutron radiation so that you could maybe locate where this ship had been and get sort of an estimation of area, much like those ships did in the days of old when they were trying to predict where a sub is based off of where they located where it was. And it kind of occurs to you as you're flipping through the data and looking at it, comparing it to the Ross's data, and you kind of just, like, you feel this surge of adrenaline passing through you when all of a sudden your expertise and your knowledge of the Ross, you start to realize you might be able to find this son of a gun.
Aha!
And we're going to go on break. So, let's go ahead and take 10 minutes. Get bathroom, get coffee, get relaxed. We'll be back in 10 minutes, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in just a minute. Welcome back to Clear Skies. We're starting back from our break with a large thumping and bumping as the USS Ross enters the proximity of the Nebula, and we do our Star Trek shimmy.
Sparks flying randomly for no reason.
Not that bad.
Oh, okay.
Tech immediately begins to scream, "Ah, my ship!" Entering into this nebula, this Mutara class nebula, the Ross immediately feels this. The size of the Ross mitigates a lot of the turbulence you feel as you enter into the energy fields of this nebula. Now, Mutara nebulas are notorious for being bumpy on occasion. Sensors are inoperable while you're inside the nebula. And shields are also completely useless. Interference from the nebula makes it impossible to raise shields or use. However, you still are at yellow alert. So that basically has the crew on heightened status so that, no one's standing on ladders, that kind of thing. Right now, the captain, so just as you're entering into the sick bay, you kind of lurch over into the doorway as the Ross just... And about that point, you hear on the intercom say, attention all hands, we have entered the nebula perimeter. Turbulence will be continuous throughout this day. Please remain at yellow alert. This is Vren's voice over the con.
Captain?
Thank you. I must not have my nebula legs.
All
right. Do you have everything that you need?
Yes.
Excellent. Then let's set up the meeting with our patient, shall we?
So what would you like to do? Would you like to beam him into sickbay? Or are you having him escorted to sickbay? What exactly?
I defer to McCrell, actually. You seem to know him best and have him at most ease when he's in your presence. Where do you believe he will feel most comfortable if he becomes emotional?
I feel like either the medical bay or the holodeck of your office would suffice. I feel like that is where he is the most familiar.
I suggest the holodeck then.
Yes, I agree. That way we could show him in greater detail.
Excellent. I'll meet you there.
I'll go collect him. I'll escort him personally.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Doctor.
Now, by now, the holodecks have cleared out. So main sick bay on deck 12, you guys can basically just go straight to deck 11. So you take holodeck 1 is available to you. Security arrives with Dr. Wellix being flanked by these 2 security officers. You can see Wellix is not looking well. And it's that unfortunate look that you get from somebody who's clearly they're going through it. They're clearly having an episode of degeneration, essentially. You can see it in his eyes. As that usual sharpness, that wit, that sort of alertness that he always has when he's around all of you, it's softened considerably. And as he approaches, he takes a moment to look at all of you and just says, "Captain."
Doctor, thank you for agreeing to meet with us.
What can I do for you?
First is a notification, I'm afraid.
Notification.
Your cover was blown.
What?
Not
What do you
on
mean?
our side. Not as far as I know. On yours.
What does that mean? What do you mean my cover was blown?
To be honest, it might not have been a cover at all. They could have known from the beginning.
Do you mean they know I'm on the Ross?
Yes.
Mendak is following us. And called you out by name, by prior name. As being on our ship.
His eyes slowly lower. He grows very quiet for a moment before he turns and slumps back against the wall.
I'm gonna
slides down the wall to the floor.
grabbing my, obviously, I brought a med kit. So
Okay.
I'll immediately start administrating.
He slides down the wall to the floor, and his shoulders body posture slumps. He just, as soon as he hits the floor, he just looks straight ahead and almost goes catatonic. He seems like he's checked out for a moment as he just stares straight ahead, and after a moment he just says, "Then they're dead. They're all dead."
No, you cannot make those assumptions. We need more information, more intel, and this is why we've called you here.
I don't need more information or intel. If it's Admiral Mindak, they're all dead.
If he's chasing after you, that means you still have collateral. That means you are still important for some reason.
Don't understand, McCrell. If it's Admiral Mindak, they're all dead.
What do you want to do about it?
Join them. This was all for nothing. I just wanted to do what was best. I wanted to prevent war.
Do you still feel that way? Because a war is still happening.
No. My reason for caring is dead.
Dr. Wellix,
My name is Sorex.
you don't know that they're dead. Assumptions can be made.
I will not hear any more of this foolishness. And he starts to slowly rise again. My mind might be rotting away inside my brain, but I won't be told what I do and don't know of my own people, especially Admiral Mindak.
He knew the identity of your family?
Yes, the Tal Shiar knows everything.
Do you like us to back channel for confirmation?
No.
I understand.
Suffering. Dying. For months. While their corpses lie in an unmarked grave as traitors. Everything I have done for nothing. They're dead because of me. Because I am a traitor.
If what you say is true, then you can help us stop him to do this to others. We believe he is still chasing this ship, and we would like to put an end to that.
Why is he chasing this ship?
He asked us to
Captain.
hand over you.
He wants me?
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying,
He still wants you recently.
which means your family might still be alive if he thinks that could be used as collateral.
What do you want from me?
I'm going to show you a series of images, and I want to know if it triggers anything. A memory for possibly identifying how to stop their imminent attack.
We believe that your night terrors have subconsciously been trying to tell us what's been following us all along. We need you to clarify.
Mindak has been following you?
Yes.
Are you ready to see the images?
Yes.
I'm gonna help him rise, but I'm not gonna take my hands away from his arms, just in case he tends to react.
He pats your hand for a second and then pulls away, like showing appreciation, but he kind of like.
Well, then I'm gonna stand close.
Check. I feel like he's maybe, like, just to check he's still on the thread.
It's difficult to tell. If you want to make an insight command check,
Yeah,
I can give
do.
you a sense of where he's at right now.
Yeah.
Can I assist?
Please, that would
Yeah.
be wonderful.
Difficulty of this is 3.
Okay. I'll buy a vowel.
And what am I rolling?
Where are we at right now for momentum?
I would say this is going to be insight medicine check.
Is that medicine?
Yeah.
We're at 3. Are you buying one now?
I bought from 4 down to 3.
Oh, okay.
I haven't been doing it since we started playing this campaign, but moving forward, I'm going to start revisiting our old rule. And it wouldn't count here anyway, so don't worry about it. But just to give everyone a heads up, I'm going to start re-injecting the rule that you lose 1 momentum every time the scene changes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We just haven't
we
been
can-
doing
we
it,
can
and
pop that out
that's
right now.
totally on me. I completely forgot about. I completely
So
forgot about it.
let's call it
I
at
forgot
2
about
right
it
now.
too.
Yeah, but it's fine to do it right now, especially after the spectacular rolls that we had in the past, right before winter break. So, go ahead and make your roll. And did you do your assists, Macron?
I did. Yes.
Okay.
There's
What did you
one.
guys get?
Do I
Ideas?
have does my sense motive tie in?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Then that one's a crit. So 4 from me.
Okay.
So 5 total.
You're actually going to gain. Okay, so gain back 2 momentum. He is in a state of. It's noticeable now, Captain.
Yeah.
He is now he's having to come back and bring himself back because the crushing sadness seemed to be about to take him on the edge of tears, and then it's almost like he had to remember what he was just told, and then he's going through the motions, and then he's coming back around. So what you're seeing is partial emotional processing of the information that's being given to him, but it's also lingering. So he is exhibiting pain, but yes, you are seeing the effects. He is cognizant and he is aware and he is cooperating, but you're definitely seeing the degeneration at this point, and it's difficult to watch. He just kind of nods to you and says, "Show me what you have to show me."
He's sitting on the floor, correct?
No, he pulled himself up, and Merkrell started helping him, and
I understand. I wasn't sure if he patted her hand away, as in like I'm staying down here.
Oh yeah, no, he stood up, yeah, and kind of he's facing you and Captain Soul right now.
Okay, and we're sort of against the wall of the holodeck.
Yeah, he was leaning right up against the same wall where the doors to the holodeck are. So he rose off. He's right next to the holodeck doors.
Okay. Just as a side note, I'd like to start very slowly implementing sort of room parameters in the holodeck, so that this space starts feeling less and less like a void with an infinite void of emptiness. I want to start implementing things I know he feels comfortable, things he drew and things he remembered, small tokens around the room to sort of, because I probably am seeing the same sort of disconnect of his body is remembering the pain but not his brain. And so slowly piecing in subconscious comforts, as it were.
So here's what we'll do, because this is a perfect use of building a trait for the scene.
Okay.
So if you're willing to spend 2 momentum, I will reduce the difficulty of social interactions with him while he's in the holodeck for the remainder of the scene.
Right.
Yes, please.
Okay. So you add a calming, sort of safe sort of atmosphere to the holodeck as you enter. That has an effect on him as he steps in, seeing these pockets of his nightmares floating in the air in front of him. He does give pause, but he continues walking in, looking at each and every one of them like he's just walked into a room filled with enemies, rubbing his hands together. You can almost see through the body language the Romulan in him as he's looking around, almost the same as he looked when he was on those security feeds, taking like those dashing stealth moves as he was moving throughout the Ross undetected. He glances at each one of them. You all step into the holodeck and it closes behind you. And he looks one by one and he says, "This is remarkable. It's like they're in front of me. You made them real. They're somehow less frightening like this."
I only pieced together what you gave me.
He comes to a stop in front of the one that you particularly want him to pay attention to. The two silhouetted figures. He pauses. And you see him kind of... And then he wanders back over and stops in front of the faceless woman that looks like his wife and his child. And he pauses and he looks over at them. And he just continues to stare at them. Long, hard stare.
What's happening right now? If you'd like, it might help to say what you're feeling right now out loud.
He moves back over to the two silhouettes behind the raptor wings and stares at them again. And then he moves back to stand in front of his wife and his child.
Can I merge the two together and see if that changes the way he feels?
Okay, you sort of like sliding things around to sort of get a sense of where he's at with it. You move these two images. And he watches this happen as the two images slide over each other. And he watches passively. And he doesn't seem to react, but when they separate again, you see he takes attention once more. And he moves back over to his wife and child. This small, ambiguous humanoid figure that's about waist high next to the female presenting faceless woman that's in front of him. And he says, something's wrong. I don't know what's real. I don't know who these two people are. And he points at the wife and child imagery. I know who they're supposed to be. I don't know who they are.
It's okay. Don't be hard on yourself. You're going through a lot right now. It's a lot to process. We just...
As you talk, McCrell, he moves back towards the other two silhouettes.
What about these two? Are you picking up anything from these two?
Want to walk towards the captain.
He's having a reaction of some kind, but he's looking at these two silhouettes like from underneath his brow, like staring at them. It's hard to say if it's with suspicion or rage. It's difficult to say.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, when you see these two forms, what emotion is the first thing that comes to mind? You don't have to be able to identify them right now. It's okay if you can't. What do you feel when looking at them?
I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to put the emotion into words.
Are these two the threat?
I don't know.
I want to put the image of the wings behind the mother and the child. I want to keep luring them. See if
And I'd like...
Yeah, anything, Captain. I'm standing next to you in case there's input.
I'd like to make a clandestine check, actually. It never it never occurred to me until just now, but he was planted on Earth for a very long time, and that child is very young. Do Romulans implant memories? I know.
Go
intelligence
ahead
practices.
and make a roll. So.
All right. Is that what
The
attribute
difficulty
is that?
of this is going to be 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make this an insight security check.
Okay.
And yes, if you have any...
I have clandestine.
Okay, yes, that absolutely applies.
So I'm buying a vowel. And actually, just on the possibility this might scale, or even for obtain information, but really just because values, there's always something beneath the surface. I'd like to use my determination.
Okay, yes.
Cool. And so that's 5.
So it all happens at once because as you start thinking about this and you see the raptor wings pass behind the woman and the child, you see him stiffen and it almost comes out of you involuntarily. They're not real. He doesn't have a family, Saul. There's no way a deep cover operative would have any kind of attachments like that waiting for them back at home.
Why the hell would we be better with covers for our own families? And so I lean over to Exio very softly and just... I always had a cover in between me and my family. Wouldn't the Tal Shiar have?
Wait. Her. And he points at the woman, the faceless woman. The wings. My wife? He glances back over at the 2 silhouettes and says, "Now I know her."
Name.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Does your wife work with the Romulan that is chasing us?
I don't know.
It's okay. It's all right. Captain, can we get that picture of the ship from the data core in here as well?
Yes. Commander, load it up and... is there some sort of sensory recall? Something? This is your field, not mine.
Oh,
You're muted.
Oh, sensory recall in what ways?
He's not remembering going by name. Room where he was in a meeting, something to get at the information obliquely. I can try to help focus? I don't know.
Okay. So I want to remove all the information from the room that is not prevalent anymore. There is no images.
Okay. Just the silhouette, the wife and the child, and the raptor wings at this point.
Mm-hmm.
No child.
As the child disappears, he has a reaction. He goes, his eyes widen, almost like he's starting to realize what Azuri has come to the conclusion. Wait, what? No.
I want to merge the woman into the other silhouette because there are still 2 beings that he is focused on. I want to make one of the images the woman. And
as you do that, he...
Has, in any of the paintings, has he drawn any facial features?
No.
Never.
No. But you hear him say, "There you are."
I want to experiment with something that might be risky.
Okay.
I want to add his features onto the other image.
Okay.
I want to
has a visible reaction to that. And he's
A man and a wife portrait.
and he stares at it, but he says nothing.
Okay.
But he's narrowing his eyes and he says, I can't.
Okay. I remove that. Remove that from the image.
I need to sit down. I can't. I need to sit down.
I make a chair. What do I know about? I've studied. You know, we've been studying Romulus, and I make a room that feels like a Romulan ship.
Okay. It appears, and he just looks around and says, "No. My quarters, please."
Quarters.
And he immediately moves over to the sofa and sits down in front of this glass coffee table that's in his quarters.
I want the quarters, but I want a window out to San Francisco. That's where he was stationed for a really long time.
Okay. He glances up and sees the Golden Gate Bridge and shuttlecraft flying by. He sees a clear blue sky, and for a moment, you guys are all taken back to Starfleet headquarters, not too far away from Starfleet Academy, where you see the glittering surface of the San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz out in the middle of the bay, the distinct spray of whales in the harbor, and the sign of more shuttlecraft coming and going. And he stares out the window for a moment and just says, Exio, I can't anymore. I'm sorry, I can't.
What are you afraid of?
It's too much. It's just too much. I don't know what's real.
And then I'm going to turn to Exio and be like, bring up the ship picture. You're muted again, Gina.
Yeah, sorry, I was just thinking.
Because this ship is real.
I turn off the holodeck so he sees what's real.
Okay.
It is a room.
He exhales, like...
And I bring up the image of the ship, but I put it in my hands.
Uh-huh.
So that it looks like a piece of thing that I'm holding and not something imaginary. I ground it.
And he says, "Death," as he stares at it.
Is death one of the possible translations of the word of the ship?
No.
Okay.
No,
but it is a lot like the vacuum suck dream.
He seems like he's just come to face with something that has been in his dreams.
I'm just gonna look him directly in his eyes and go, "Not on my watch."
I have to rest.
Yes.
This is too much.
Captain, with your permission, I can escort him back to his quarters and give him a sedative.
I'd like to insight check on him one more time.
Okay.
In part because there's a difference between
I'll let you do
I'm
an
overwhelmed and what's frustrating me here and what's sending me over threshold is that I don't know what's real. Those are solved two different ways.
I'll let you do an obtain information check. So, in other words, not a check, but all you have to do is spend momentum here to get that. Since you already made this roll, instead of having you roll again, and it's the same scene, I'll let you do obtain information. So spend your momentum.
One because of the creep.
Right. Because he is holding it together so well, you would have maybe slipped past notice, but he is coming apart at the seams. He doesn't seem like he trusts himself anymore. He doesn't seem like he knows precisely where he is. That same sort of countenance of distrust that he first had on his face when he came aboard the Ross is present. He is teetering on the edge. Apparently he saw a lot of truth here today, and he's having difficulty determining the boundaries between the lie and the truth. And it's overwhelming him. He is on the verge of a breakdown.
Here's what is real. You were a deep cover operative on Earth. For the Tal Shiar, you were very, very, very good at it. The Tal Shiar took a lot of precautions with you. They put a chip in your brain that's melting it, and they implanted false memories into you.
No.
Yes.
No, I have a wife and I have a child. I have a wife and I have a child.
They lied to you to secure your loyalty and make you afraid.
Lashes out.
Yep, that's fine.
He's going to shove past you, Sol, and run for the holodeck door.
I'm gonna grab him. I'm trying to
go for it.
We are now in combat, so you're going to make a security. This is going to be a
He's my patient.
Daring security check, and you are now going to be in hand-to-hand combat with Sorex.
I took a changeling down. Piece of cake.
May I assist because he's brushing past me?
Yes.
Just try to slow his roll a little bit.
Yes, I think that's fair. Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to specify, Eric. Before I do this, I don't want to hurt him. I'm obviously just trying to keep him contained and like.
Roll for grapple.
Yeah,
I'm spinning threat.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you are.
I'm gonna take that last momentum. Hey.
So it's 1, 2. So I've spent 3 threat. All right.
Oh.
Oh. Sorry, I crit.
I succeeded. That's the surprising thing here.
All right.
So 5 total from us.
He beat you.
What?
I got 6.
That little monkey. Oh.
Can I be a jerk and lock the door?
As soon as his action is done.
Just throwing that in there in case he gets the door open.
I'm gonna spend a threat for a reroll. So, McCrell, you're gonna take 5 damage and get knocked down.
Ooh.
You grab his arm, and the speed of which this Romulan operative moves, you lose your eyes on his hands for a split second. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, you are plowing at high speed into Captain Sol, colliding with Sol violently. Sol is able to absorb the impact and not take the damage, but the impact of colliding with Sol and having what you realize after the impact happens, your arm nearly twisted out of the socket, almost causes you to black out from sheer pain. Like he hit a nerve center as he grabbed your arm and twisted it. What everyone else witnesses is what could be described as a terrifying feat of martial arts prowess, as Sorex basically counters the grab, sends McCrell hurtling into Sol, and I'm spinning 2 threat to retain initiative. And before you can lock that door, Exio, he is out. Unfortunately, he's also flanked by security officers who are waiting by the doors, and the moment they see him, he attacks one.
Eric, while this is happening, can I say that I administer just like a pain, like a hypo spray to myself to just kind of knock the pain out so I can?
No. In fact, you took 5 damage, so you're going to have to spin to avoid injury. Otherwise, you're down for this fight.
What was the difficult? Oh, it doesn't matter.
We don't have any momentum.
You've got to spin to avoid injury, or you're down for the fight, McCrell.
Well, good luck, everybody.
This is what happens when the cleric gets hit.
Oh wait,
This is what happens when the cleric gets hit.
I can spend a value though. Correct.
To ignore the injury, if not mitigate it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
so
will.
you'll still get hurt if you get hit again. So stay back.
Okay. Okay. To security's credit, Security manages to lock up with Sorex and actually wins by 1 on that security check. I mean, I burned through a lot of threat right now, so he's not able to unleash the full firepower of angry Romulan operative on these 2 security officers. So they lock arms. The other security officer immediately fires a low-level stun setting at point blank. Unless y'all want to go first, because it's now your action.
Is he stunned?
No, he is locked arm in arm. He's taken 1 point of damage. He is locked arm in arm with the security officer. The security officer grappled him.
I want to prevent him being stunned because we don't know how that's going to affect anything medically for him already.
Okay.
Also, if he falls and hits his head, we don't know if that'll.
So we need to
head injury.
social him
We need
down.
to get him.
This sounds like pheromone calm.
Use the thing. Do the thing.
So
All right, Captain Sol.
yeah, Sol.
Minor action to move to where he is at, and then do your thing.
Yep.
So this is going to be a presence command check.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a green die check.
Because this is the same scene, even though he has technically left the holodeck, I am still going to impose the momentum spend that Exio made to make this slightly easier on you.
Okay. What's the difficulty?
Because Exio did some amazing holographic dancing just then. So the difficulty instead of making this a contested roll, I'm going to set this as a flat difficulty based on the enhancements that Exio brought to the scene. So I'm going to set the difficulty for this at 3.
Okay.
But I'm going to spend my last 2 threat to raise the complication range by 2.
Yep, because pheromone rolls need higher complication ranges. That's what they need.
So what does that bring it to?
How much did you lower it?
By 2.
Cool. So that means a 16.
Yeah, so it's maxed out. So
Which
16 or
means
higher.
that we can hit that gorgeous success but complication because my threshold here is 7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying there's a chance. We have a chance, kiddos, for the best roll in this game. Also, real quick, let me roll my veteran talent to see if my determination came back. 4. No, it doesn't. All right, let's go. Oh, and I'm not buying a momentum. I don't have cautious. Let's go. Oh my gosh, we're okay. Let's see. 4. I win. We get a momentum. I win.
Tell me what you do.
Best captain.
Sol moves up pretty close, not getting a little lower into the body, just so not to loom and not to be quite so overwhelming and not to be a physical threat. And speaking as softly as they can. It's overwhelming. They lie to you. It hurts. That is what you're feeling, but we're going to find a way to make it okay. We're going to find what is real together. What is real is what's here right now. Here on the Ross is always real, is always true. We're Federation idiots. We only tell the truth.
The injection of humor certainly helps. He's locked arm in arm with the security officer. And when the security officer sees you approaching, and it's clear that these two are like shuffling back and forth, the one that's pulled the phaser holds off for a split second to not put the captain in danger. He's panting heavily as he glances over to you. You see beads of sweat starting to gather at the tips of his brows, and he glances at you, and the pheromone effect, along with the calmness of your voice, has this calming effect on him that it just, there's no other way it would have gotten, you would have reached out to him. Words, he was far beyond words, but the pheromone effect allows him to hear what you're saying. As it calms his nerve for a moment, he just... And the ensign that's holding him also begins to relax a little bit, and he starts to lower his arms and let his arms slump. And immediately the other security officer moves forward and moves behind him. And the two security officers turn him gently to face you as they stand behind, almost like they're going to put him in binders, but don't. They just keep him facing you, and they stand behind him in a secured position. Non-threatening. The other one puts his phaser away, and they stand next to him. The rest of you emerge from the holodeck at this point. The captain seems to have calmed him down, but you can see he's pale. He looks exhausted. He almost slumps to the floor.
I'll actually sort of catch at his arm and let him go down. I mean,
And about that moment, the Ross just goes, rumbles again.
I've gotcha.
Get these spots off me. I need my face back. I need to know who I am.
I look at the captain for permission.
As soon as we can. Right now, if we can.
Also, Captain, we really don't have that much time left. With your permission, I would like to work with Chief Tech. And of course, with your permission, I'm gonna look at Dr. Wellix. I would like to attempt whatever I can at any cost to get some of your brain activity under control.
Whatever you must do.
Do it. Do another scan for alteration of long-term memory. They put a lot in here. And it could have been confusing any of our earlier hypotheses. See what your models are like without it. And if nothing else, try to get him closer to something resembling the truth.
Yes. I'm gonna slam my arm against the wall and pop it back in a socket.
There's a cracking noise. McCrell, the pain is agony. It is
fine.
extraordinary.
Never reduce a shoulder that way unless you really don't have someone around it. And no, don't reduce a shoulder that way.
I'm a field medic. I'm fine.
You're talking to a player who dislocates daily
Yeah.
and is probably hurting Sam.
There's another way. It's fine. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I have a field medic talent. It was just, I was just gonna.
I'm glad your collagen got the memo. Moving on.
Just a slight thing goes through exit. I'm right here.
Doing the Ross just been like, hey, that's my doorway. What do you go to sickbay? Anyway, tension broken though for a second. McCrell, you use the doorway to sort of get a pop back into the socket. The agony is extraordinary. You are going to need to go to sickbay. You are going to need medical attention.
Yes, I know.
Your arm is not just dislocated. He likely fractured and tore tendons. He probably fractured a bone and tore some tendons just now. You're gonna need some tissue regeneration to heal. This is like a Parisi Squares injury if ever you saw.
I'm gonna look at him and be like, I will remove those spots for you tomorrow. Knowing that I need a little bit of time.
And almost ominously, as McCrell begins to move away, he glances up at you, Captain, and in pure innocence and slight confusion, he just says, "What happened to her?"
Thing we can't fix.
Okay. Olin? There is a personnel file available on Ambassador Pagino. You were told by the Secretary of Exterior himself that Pagino was expecting you when you returned to Narendra Station. As you, where would Olin be right now on ship?
I think that Olin has been spending a lot of time on the promenade and has actually been fairly absent from the bridge since their return from Ryza.
Okay.
And actually just recently been very absent from the bridge, especially since their conversation with Nadrin. So they've just been in their office with their fish, filing reports, getting updates on the Jashashians as best they can, assigning things to whatever crew they have. I don't actually know if the Octa have made anyone for me, but if they have, I've been assigning things to them. So
per GM player discussions that we've had, I'm going to recommend to you, Ambassador, much like Captain Sull does when they're about to have an encounter they're certain is going to lead to conflict. You have an opportunity for some opposition research with Pagino using Starfleet intelligence files that you have on him and that you have access to him. Now, Pagino has come off a little too polished for a Romulan ambassador, and he has earned the distrust, of course, from the Klingon ambassador. Joel has never really trusted Romulans anyway. He doesn't make any, Pagino has always been an offensive presence to him on Narendra Station. But so much of Ambassador Pagino comes off like a progressive who is thinking about the future of the Federation and the Romulan Star Empire. There's a sense that you have that if he's requesting a meeting with you specifically after learning this information, and that Starfleet intelligence knows that he hasn't passed this information on to his government yet, you're starting to get a sense that this meeting is probably going to come with a lot of strings attached to it.
Well, I did owe him a favor. I wonder what he's about to try and call in.
So if you want, with these files open, I will let you make an insight command check.
Okay.
And you can use, tell me what focuses you have.
I have diplomacy, anthropology, linguistics, cultural studies, galactic politics, and negotiations.
Galactic politics and negotiations both would apply here.
Cool.
Also,
particularly galactic politics. What's
to
that?
keep us honest, if we have switched scenes, should we take the one momentum out of the pool?
Yes, thank
So
you.
we're
So we're
back
at
to
0.
Cool.
So the difficulty of this roll is 2.
Okay. Insight command. Okay. That's 3 successes.
3 successes. Gaining momentum, everybody.
Just barely. Just barely. But it's 3 successes.
Olin, with the Secretary of Exterior's words ringing in your ears about removing yourself from the equation, you stare at this image of this handsome Romulan ambassador in his green gold silks. It's his personnel file that is available to members of the Diplomatic Corps and the Federation. A history of what's known about Ambassador Pagino. He is a progressive. He is a loyalist, but he has always advocated for a loosening of relationships and has been very active, according to Starfleet intelligence, in sort of advocating for a less xenophobic approach to other societies in the quadrant ever since the Dominion War ended 6 years ago. He has also been a staunch advocate for Riemann rights, and along with other Romulan senators, has helped I shouldn't say restore because they've never had them, has helped in fact grant a lot of very progressive measures in what's left of the Romulan Senate in the advancement of equality of both Riemans and Romulans. This has earned him a lot of enemies, particularly among those of the Imperial loyalists of the Romulan Star Empire, among the Tal Shiar, who you very well know, and anybody who knows galactic politics know, the Romulans of the Tal Shiar absolutely want to keep the Riemans as the slave shock troops that they've always been. Especially after the uprising with Imperator Shinsan and the assassination of the Romulan Senate and the events that took place there. Pagino, however, remains steadfast and has gained a lot of allies in that arena. But as you continue to analyze and look at what's known from him, you kind of lean back, sipping your tea and staring at this personnel file. And you start getting a sense that Pugino telling you what you already know, me emphasizing this, is bringing it home to what you've kind of already known in your heart. He is not your friend. And even though he is posed as a compassionate, well-meaning ally, as you're looking at this, with the context that he hasn't reported this to the Romulan Star Empire yet, supposedly, but he wants to have a meeting with you first, he's probably not just looking for a favor. You get the sense that he's going to be expecting to be holding all of the cards when you walk in the office.
So much for doing things out in the open. What do you want, Pugino? What are you expecting to get?
If you want to do an obtain information, you do have 1 momentum.
Sure.
Okay. You do have sense motivation, if I remember correctly, as a focus, right? Or what do you? You have galactic politics, negotiation. Actually, negotiation would be pretty good here. The more you stare at this personnel file, the more you look at the personality traits that have been observed, the more you look into those dark brown eyes, the more you realize you could really use Exio's help in building a psychological profile of this guy based on what you know and based on your interactions with him and based what you know about galactic politics, negotiation, and current state of the Romulan Star Empire. And the other piece of information that you have that's just glaring you in the face is
good to be
he
true.
forced himself onto Narendra Station. Injected himself into the galactic politics of that Klingon Federation starbase. There are so many signs of a strategy at play. You might be able to get a bird's eye view with Exio's help.
Ambassador Majinil to Commander Exio.
Yes. Yes, go for Exio. I imagine this is taking place at the same time.
You're watching the captain and Mackrell move down the corridor towards the turbolift to head towards sickbay.
Right.
And as you're standing there by yourself in the corridor, you get the chirp.
Go for Exio. What can I do for you?
Do you mind lending me a moment of your time? Something rather important I need to talk to you about.
Of course. Where are you?
I'm in my office.
Blip, front door.
You appear in front of the ambassador's office on the promenade. And through the glass where you see the Great Federation symbol in the ambassador's office, you can see sipping tea, leaning back on a sofa, is Olin Marjanil. Patience immediately starts wagging their tail, and they come dashing over to the door upon the side of you, putting her paws up against the glass, just waiting eagerly for the doors to slide open.
I have my hand just at the paw level without breaking eye contact with Olin.
Okay. And the door's open. While this is happening. What's that?
I think she's lost her confusion, at least.
Yes.
Like
not reacting.
With me through glass. It sort of is a perfect barrier of our relationship.
Yeah. While this is happening, Alpha Shift is starting to come to an end. And down in main engineering, Chief, you're currently slumped across the center console in front of the warp core.
Yes.
So if you can imagine, the format for a ship this size is quite the same as a standard Galaxy class. You do have that great center control panel that Geordi and Data stood in front of all the time.
Yeah, that middle shot.
Yeah. Sitting across from you is Insandari, who's currently just like, you see her pulling one of her antenna back and like fixing her hair as she rubs her eyes for a second and just goes, I thought we were supposed to be on vacation, Chief.
I got it. And then he excitedly is just looking over the data that he's been processing. And he's turns quickly to Dari, completely changed in demeanor, and says, "Meet me in Cetacean Ops." And he'll just take off.
You bolt around the corner, and she watches you, almost like she's waiting for a moment to find out if you were kidding. And then when she hears the shh of the turbolift doors, she goes,
Okay, sure thing, Chief. Sure thing.
And walks after you. It doesn't take long before you all reach Cetacean Ops, Deck 13. As you step into the Cetacean Ops area, of course, Cetacean Ops, by its very default, is a very beautiful deck to be walking into. The large open spaces where you see people are working out in the open with holographic technology that they're interacting with and co-interacting with cooperatively on the other side of the glass from the Odanian officers that are currently triangulating and mapping out stars that are in the vicinity. You see a lot of activity the moment you storm into here, Chief. Apparently, while everyone else has been idly scanning around and blah, 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 just like we're sitting at station keeping, just kind of scanning out into the galaxy, Cetacean Ops has been alive and excited because the Ross has just been casting a wide net and absorbing a bunch of information that most people would probably find rather boring, but not the Odanians on duty. As you charge into this room, you're immediately hit by that beautiful blue ambient glow of all the salt water on the other side of the glass. You can see Dr. Yada is standing front, the size of Dr. Yada silhouetted by Lacat, who's looking up at him. And
that's exactly who I'm looking for.
What's that? That's who you're looking for?
Yep.
Okay. They're in the middle of having a conversation when you see the head of Dr. Yada just start nodding up and down, and you hear the voice, hello, Chief.
Dr. Yada. I'm sorry, Lieutenant. May I interrupt?
No, go ahead.
I have some exciting news. We just got this dump from the data core with the Ferengi ship. Remember? The liquidator.
The liquidator? What a strange name for the seizure of assets. Liquidator.
That's true, but it also led me down this path. You know, we were studying this with the Jashashians, the concept of subspace as sort of water, as fluid, right?
Yes. Tell me more. And he sinks down a little bit to your level, and he says, you know, you are speaking the seductive language of the Odanians, combining subspace with water.
Listen, this ship that has been following it, this ghost ship, it's been emanating neutron radiation, almost, it's pingable. We can find it. We need some sort of electro-radiation sensor ping. We're gonna find this ghost with ESP. McCraw was right.
ESP? Extrasensory perception.
But we're going to do electro-radiation sensor ping. We're going to try to find this neutron radiation by sending out a pulse, like ancient technology, a sonar.
I see. Yes, I'm quite familiar with sonar.
And if we can construct buoys, we could possibly set up stations in frequent areas. And we can pulse multiple times to see if we can try to find this emission.
Have you taken into account the celestial phenomenon frequently found in the Shackleton Expanse?
Well, that's where I'm sort of hoping you'd come in, Dr. Yada.
See. Yes. Well, I tell you what we could do is run a few simulations as to what would happen should these pulses that you're describing interact with some of these celestial phenomena. It's also worth noting that if there is neutron radiation surges, we should consider looking into how that would affect... Oh, of course. One moment. And he swims over to one of the great holographic globes that you see hovering inside of the Cetacean Ops tank, where you see a bunch of the Cetacean Ops officers floating around it. Now, what's remarkable about this globe is that it functions as a computer that they're all using at the same time. And even though they're not touching it, it is responding to the commands as programmed into the side, the external I guess, devices that are implanted sort of like on the sides of their heads, which allows them to communicate as well. And what's remarkable is this globe is constantly shifting. The language is the language of science. You're seeing a lot of equations, a lot of data is flowing, but the way it's interacting would suggest, Tech, that they're all thinking in such perfect synchronicity that they're all turning this globe at the same time, like they're finding out the answers and calculating equations at the same moment, almost causing this sphere to rotate in perfect unison with each other. But as Yada approaches, the globe goes, and there's clicks and squeaking sounds heard inside the tank, which you can see coming up on the Universal Translator appearing as text at the bottom of the screen, much like captions. And he starts going through the sciences, and he starts asking questions about Trillium D. And a few moments later, he comes swimming back up to the glass and says, I think we may have a problem.
Oh?
Well, you see, Trillium D, as we know it today, not only protects the hulls of starships against spatial anomalies, which would be particularly useful if you were flying under cloak in the Shackleton Expanse. The sheer number of spatial anomalies make it very difficult for our handsome and talented helmsman to pilot the USS Ross through the Shackleton Expanse. If you were under cloak and your shields were constantly down, it'd be even more hazardous, particularly with a ship that might be smaller, like, say, a Romulan. What type of ship did you say it was again?
Tavaro Romulan Warbird.
Tavaro?
Right? It
I'm not
seems
familiar with
ridiculous.
that class.
And I'll pull up from the image from the data poll too.
Curious,
And
is this a
bring it
new
up.
class of warship?
It's what we found. It might be a remake of an older version. I'm not quite sure, but it could be as experimental as the Ross.
I am a fan of remakes. He leans in and looks at it, says, probably not this one, though.
And Tech will go up to the computer and start sort of participating as well at one of the stations.
Do you like remakes, Chief? As he moves next to you, swimming by.
All of engineering is remaking.
Isn't that lovely? What an interesting thing. Being an engineer and sort of recreating technologies is almost like seeding the new ideas of the future, isn't it? Laying the framework for the USS Ross was saluting the past of the Galaxy-class starship, but also acknowledging the advancements of the Sovereign class. That gives me an idea, actually.
It's also fun.
He swims over to the globe again for a few moments, and then he returns moments later and says, we'll have to see how that turns out. What were we saying before I moved away? Remake.
We're going to create a pulse. And Tech is using this sort of anxious energy to start just going to the replicator and getting pieces to start building things. That's how he deals with, figuring these problems out.
Kind of like me with my fidget thing here.
Yeah.
You start pulling these pieces of tech out and start sifting through it, and you see on the screen before you a model starts being constructed before your very eyes in the digital readouts of this hologram. As you see the device that you're building, Yada's throwing in a bunch of what ifs. Like, it's almost as if you were adding colors to a canvas. Yada's going, what about a little blue here? And then the two of you together are starting to construct just like a basic idea. And as you're starting to formulate what would look like, right now is looking kind of like a probe or a torpedo, Yada says, this is going to cause a problem.
Why?
The Trillium D that I discussed before. One of the possible applications is, well, I'll show you. And you see this scientific model come up, and he says, this is all theoretical, of course. We've never had to implement this in the Federation, though when the Defiant-class starship was granted a cloaking device by the Romulan Star Empire, we did take a rather unauthorized look at some of the possibilities. Here's what we have learned. Trillium D is laced within the molecular compounds of a starship hull. This gives it a reinforcement against spatial anomalies. But what we've also discovered is that same protection that it provides against subspace eddies, it also dampens sensor output, lessens it to a certain degree. That sparked imagination, and people started wondering, a certain group of people in particular started wondering whether or not the application could be used on starships within the Federation to make them invisible.
So sensors don't go out and sensors don't come in.
Something of that sort, but not quite. let me put it this way. If you were to look out the window of a starship, you would see the black void of space. Now, imagine you have a sensor suite, and that tells you what's outside. Good. But let's say you had a ship that didn't need to cloak, didn't need to bend light and slip into sort of this alternate state of existence, and instead was simply able to dampen your sensors just enough that if you didn't look closely enough, you might have thought you passed by a spatial anomaly. Now, take that starship and paint it the color of space, and suddenly you have a very practical, very obvious minor stealth ship that could conceivably move throughout space without using any of the power required to activate a cloaking device. Now, the point to all of this, Chief Tech, is that if this is applied to, say, a Romulan ship that already has this technology integrated, it's going to make it that much harder to detect, which means whatever pulse we create is going to need supplemental technology, or it might fail you. In other words, this is an excellent framework to go on. We're going to need more.
Well,
I could have probably said that from the beginning. I apologize.
If what we're reading from our sensors reads as a spatial anomaly, that means any spatial anomaly that we're reading in the Shackleton Expanse could potentially be a cloaked ship.
Yes.
And there are a lot of those, spatial anomalies.
Yes,
Good.
most of those anomalies were mapped by the USS Sally Ride, but that information is not reliable, as the galactic turn of events have made it very difficult to actually pinpoint whether or not those anomalies are still present in their previous positions.
But what if we look for reactions to Trillium D? Not only are we pinging for neutron radiation, but also the combination of Trillium D would suggest a spaceship. It's a hull and an exhaust.
It's possible, but we would probably need
a good attitude, because I got it.
And we would need some sort of device to help us further. We would need something to help us separate the existence of subspace within that scan. You said the Shashians had technology?
Yes, they told me all about it, and he'll pull up his research, because Tech actually gained a focus in subspace theory from his adventures with the Shashians.
Yada moves up against the glass and looks at it and then says, "Oh, I have this." And the hologram appears on his side of the glass as he starts looking at it closely. And Yada just says, "Chief Tech, you and I? It's possible with Deshashian technology that we might be able to create a new piece of sensory detection against one of the most difficult to locate ships ever created."
And Tech leans forward to the glass and just says, "I love remakes."
I do too.
Let's get to work.
I'm a scientist, you hear Lacat say about 10 feet away. I'm just saying, like, I know sensors pretty well.
You can help, and can you actually get Prawl in on this too? I think he wants a piece of this.
You want, okay, yeah, you want Prawl?
And you.
She taps on the communicator and says, "Hey, Prawl, where are you?" There's a beat, and then you hear the rather exhausted voice of an ill-humored Trill just say, "Good evening, Luclat. What can I do for you now? I need you to give the Cetacean Ops because we're trying to hunt Romulans." All right, I'll be right there. Moments later, the doors open and Prawl comes in with Vryn in tow. And Vryn steps like, Lacat goes,
driving
here. And Prawl goes, "Because I'm loath to give orders if they're not entirely necessary, but he wasn't taking the hint. And Vryn just goes, look, all I know is something's going on. I'm off duty. Alpha shift is done. What are y'all doing? I want to help.
Tech will back off to a corner and just goes, Tech Tadari, where are you?
Beat. On my way, Chief. I'm sorry.
Bring the kit.
You got it. Dr. Yada looks at everybody assembled and just says, well, this is what we're going to do. Chief Tech and I have devised a way to, and he starts going into the whole spiel as they gather around this Odanian floating on the other side of the screen. Behind this Odanian, you see a few more of the Cetacean Ops officers swim up and begin hovering there, listening closely, as the two of you begin to map out a crazed idea to detect one of the most difficult objects in the galaxy. The doors open, and Exio steps into the ambassador's office. You take your position right next to the desk. You see Exio standing there. Patience seems to be very pleased. The doors close. Shh. Just as you hear the chiming of the bells that the Alpha Watch has come to an end. Ding, ding.
I have a bit of a problem, I think.
And the ship rolls. Just as you say it.
I am not entirely aware to what level you and the captain have been informed of the way things transpired in my final meeting with Nadron. Though I imagine you're not entirely unaware.
I will be transparent. I am not entirely ignorant of the events that went down.
I received a communique from my superior, and while I am still on this mission, if you and the captain will continue to have me, I find myself in a precarious position with the FDC. I cannot afford to make any more mistakes, and I think I'm getting ready to walk into a very, very sticky situation, and I could use some help.
Well, I've got a mop. How can I help?
Ambassador Pagino wants to see me. A private meeting. Most likely to call in whatever favor it is that I owe him for securing that piece of technology. But I suspect that there is quite a big more to that than meets the eye, and I believe he may think he has me over a barrel, and I do not want to walk in unarmed. So you have the ability to put together psych evaluations better than anyone I have ever seen, and so I was hoping you might help me put one together on him as well.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but that sounds like a great fun time for me. All right, what sort of information do you have? Everything.
Olin has...
I sit down while my fingers are just sort of twiddling at Patience's nose.
Okay.
And the idea of throwing myself into a project right now sounds wonderful. And especially if it's to help a friend.
They swivel around the computer to face you. And at that point, it's just technical, because Exio, looking at the screen, you absorb the information.
Yes. I don't even know how many sort of pages of information.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
But what you get is you're actually able to access, as Exo, you're able to access the personnel file on him, but you're also able to access the thoughts and notes from Ambassador Olin Majanil as well, to start forming some ideas. So as you're looking at this, off the top of your head, And you're watching Exio having adapted and having the full range of emotion available to her. Olin, you watch Exio's face kind of fall a little bit because Exio, as you're looking at this profile, you're definitely getting the sense that this Romulan is, how do I put it?
Oh dear.
Because of recent experiences and just connecting the dots of a psych profile, it's that part of you just feels, Exio, like you're looking at another mastermind of deception. You've seen one before, and as you're looking at this, you think you're looking at another one.
Another one in what sense?
In that he might be sincere in a lot of his points of view, and he might be honest about his motivations and what he wants. But what you get from looking at this is someone who has played the game quite well to get where he is, despite views that are held against that are very much against the majority of a very conservative side of the Romulan Star Empire. He may not necessarily be an enemy, but you definitely get the sense that if it gets him what he wants, he'll burn you down. That's the instinct you get from looking at this. And judging from the context of what the ambassador has told you and the meeting that he wants with the ambassador, he's about to make a big play.
I'm afraid I put all of us in entirely too much danger because of my own lack of self-control.
Finding out someone's motivations and having an opportunity to have someone very clearly and plainly tell you exactly what they want is never bad. We have an opportunity to find out exactly the intentions of the Romulan ambassador. Regardless of the circumstances of how we came to be in this scenario, this will be useful nonetheless, Olin. I would like a record of every political, every vote, every speech, everything he has fought for, everything he has paid behind tables that have been everything. I want to trace a political pathway of
You
what.
basically go full Sam Seaborn research on.
Yeah, I want to be able to prime Olin with as much possible political pull that he might try to do over that.
Okay.
What his goal might be before he says it. And yeah.
Okay.
I want to learn that. That's my program cache. I'm going to download that. I'm going to download everything I know about this person right now. Immediately.
Okay. As the bells chime for the beta shift to start, you and Olin hunker over the data that's coming up in front of you and dig in for a long night.
Yeah.
And that is where we're going to leave off tonight's episode, with the two preparing for a big battle of their very own. Great game, you guys. I was finally able to injure one of you.
It's just a flesh wound. I'll be fine.
I mean,
Don't be so proud of yourself.
You
It's good to have
rammed
goals.
our captain into a wall. It hurt.
Yeah, you really injured the captain a few episodes ago, if I recall.
True. It's true.
Yeah, but we've known he's had it out for me for a long time.
Yes,
He went
I'm
after
never
someone he
going to
actually
forgive Sam.
likes.
I'm never going to forgive you for making Rue. I will always try to. I'm going to send all the meanest creatures I've got against you.
Do it.
I'm gonna call this wound animal abuse, and I'm calling the authorities.
No, a cat.
I am not
All right.
a kitty cat.
That is the cat.
The cat is over there. I am a
Everybody
crow.
wants to be the
The
cat.
cat.
In my-
Never died.
All right.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Well, with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us for tonight's episode of Clear Skies. We hope you enjoyed a little Star Trek adventure. We will see you back here on Monday night next week, Monday, same time, 6:30 p.m., as we continue into part 3 of Who We Are. Thank you so much. Until then, hailing frequencies are closed.